Welcome to everybody. I am very honored to have with us today Yuriy Sheliazhenko from the Ukrainian pacifist movement and Elena Popova from the Coscienza objector movement in Russia. Welcome, Yuriy. Welcome, Helena.
Good day.
So, you know that today is the seventh day of the war, the seventh day of Russian aggression against Ukraine. And we, the movement of conscientious objectors from military service, as well as huge number of people in Russia, we demand that Russian authorities should immediately stop the war and return all Russian troops to the territory of Russia. And we express our solidarity with the people of Ukraine, with those who hide from the bombs with their families, with those who heroically repel aggression, trying to stop aggression. We understand that if Ukraine falls in this war, it will be a disaster, not only for Ukraine, but also for Russia. Am I afraid to say this in public? Of course, it's scary. Because, of course, I don't want investigators to search and put me in jail. But we must remember that those who are under bombs now are more afraid.
Now, because I said at the beginning that we are a family, an international family of the War Resist International, we can see a 1 minute video from Joanne Sheehan, an activist for nonviolence.
I'm Joanne Sheehan with the War Resisters League in the United States. War Resisters League believes that war is a crime against humanity, where clear war is never the answer. The present invasion of Ukraine by Russia tragically shows the cruelty of war. We're thankful that President Biden has not responded to Putin's raising the nuclear alert status. But the U.S. is building new nuclear weapons. We urge all countries to ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, now signed by 86 countries. Italy should do so and no longer host nuclear weapons at your two bases. The conflict over Ukraine benefits the weapon suppliers, military alliances such as NATO, and political elites, while those in Ukraine suffer and die, as do the Russian soldiers sent to occupy. We also condemn the mistreatment of African students who are no longer being given equal access to leave war-torn Ukraine. Violence does not keep us safe.
Ukraine and Russia have common problem with underdeveloped peace culture and underdeveloped civic culture. Usually people subordinate their conscience to public propaganda and it is, of course, hijacked by the military now. We pacifists think that morality is you shall not kill, and when the military talk about morale, they mean it is like combat spirit. And this problem should be addressed first, at least thinking about help to Ukraine or to Russia. You should understand that many organizations, at least in Ukraine, are helping the military and they focusing on military activities. So it is important to help peaceful people and inform people about their right to conscientious objection to military service.
Can you tell us something about the destiny of those who have been jailed in Russia due to the protest against war?
Well, some of them stay for a day or more in the police station, and just after this, they should pay a fine, rather high fine for them. And some people are arrested for several days, 10 or something like this, 10 or maybe 15 days arrested. Of course, maybe you know more about the protest and about statements against the war that are from different people on different professional groups, some artists and a lot of people against the war. But I think you know less about how it's going on in the army. The Russian authorities actually were systematically preparing for this war step by step. For several years, there has been a ban on the publication of information about losses in the Russian army. The Ministry of Defense and FSB adopted acts to make the army as more and more structured and closed from the society. For example, officers were prohibited from posting online on social network information about where they are or any other information. Soldiers are prohibited. Soldiers and military units are prohibited from using mobile phones with devices for accessing the internet. They can use only telephones, and the use of telephones by soldiers was very much limited. It's very much limited. And today, from the appeals of the relatives of the soldiers, we know how it was happening. Troops arrived for the exercises near the military exercises near the border and on the territory of Belarus. And they have been there for a long time. Then the soldiers were told to hand over all their phones, and they were given equipment, and they were sent to Ukraine. They were not told directly that they were going to the war. And among the and nowadays the situation is getting even worse. So human rights activists, NGOs, they receive calls from the parents of conscripts. For example, there was the report that they are going to be sent to Ukraine. They say that whoever doesn't he will be shot or given 15 or 20 years in prison for disobeying an order. It is clear that this is only intimidation. They just because there is no death penalty in Russia, of course, and it is not applied. But you understand how it affects young people, young men who are isolated from normal world, from their families. They can hardly get any support, and they even limited in calling home. So this is how they make them take part in this war.
By the way, now I hear sirens, distant sirens of warning about air strike, because it is distant. It is possibly in other part of Kiev. I hope so. There is indeed a problem that it is impossible even to discuss normally and openly in social networks about non-violent pro-peace values today, because when you asking people, for example, are there any charitable initiatives, projects, what are your situation, friends, what are what do you need for non-violent initiatives? Many friends are just reply for such posts with obscenities, with very furious comments, because propaganda made people to think that all males should fight like men. Yeah, and I have a fear that even some non-violent technique may be weaponized in the war with Russia, because people who year for year received Western support for peace building, for development of peace education, they used it for nationalist capacity building, community building. Such persons as Anton Gerashchenko, and now calls for non-violent resistance against Russian army are usually spread not from pacifists and not with necessary precautions, but from the military people, and it can be, of course, this use of human shield to cover military operations.
Now the European countries and European Union have decided to support Ukraine sending arms. We, as Italian Peace and Disarmament Network, are against this decision, but we need also to explore with you how we can stop this war with non-violent means and how we can support pacifists and non-violent activists and organizations in Russia and Ukraine.
In my view, there are three things which our family can help people in this situation in Ukraine and in Russia. And firstly, it is saying truth, because of course, propaganda in Russia and in Ukraine is militarist propaganda, and for Ukraine it is even more problematic because while the West for many years helped activists, anti-war activists in Russia to criticize army, in Ukraine, on the contrary, civil society created by the military people was supported by financing of Western embassies and benefactors such as George Soros. So, first of all, truth about human right to conscientious objection, truth about there is no just war, and so on. Then it is helping those who need it, helping conscientious objectors to military service. And thirdly, vision. Strategic investments in development of peace culture, peace education, peace journalism, all that is critically needed in Ukraine and in Russia to develop genuine peace culture and genuine impartial peace movement, which can be self-sustained, not just supported by benefactors or embassies.
I want to thank people in Ukraine. Maybe they are military people, of course they're military people, who made websites, online channels that allow people to get data about Russian soldiers who have been surrounded, and as well as about those who are died. Because the Russian Ministry of Defense hides all the information about Russian soldiers in Ukraine. And the only way to see real faces of these soldiers and to where they're from, and to see them and to hear them. And actually, what's about propaganda and fascists? Once I spoke, I haven't prepared it in written form, but I will tell. I spoke to one woman. Her son went to Ukraine. She couldn't find him, and I sent her this resource this website, Ищи своих. Look for your people. I don't know how to translate it. And she found her son. He was alive.
I would like to stress about importance of hope, because people and politicians are going to war because they lose hope in better future. And now in current conflict in and around Ukraine, which was not started several days ago, we had 8-year bloodshed. And before of that, we have geopolitical opposition, and all the time Russia and United States fought for control over Ukraine. And escalation of this fight is a result of lost hopes in United States to build global hegemony by violent means, by militarism, by military alliances, and result of lost hopes in Russia about successful project of nation state building on the model of 20th century, highly militarized state, absolute sovereignty, so-called right of political class to do whatever they wish on their territory. Which of course in contemporary world is impossible because many people are understanding their rights, and mass education help people to understand their dignity. So militarism on both sides, over investments in the military, because, for example, United States spent on the military 10 times more than on foreign relations. Russia spent on the military 20 times more than on foreign relations. Ukraine spends on military 24 times more than on foreign relations. If we invest in war instead of peace and international friendship, it results of war in war. And to tell the truth and to create hope, to tell that passions of today sufferings of today will be not infinite, but something by peaceful negotiations or by regime change in Russia, or I don't know, maybe even in Ukraine, or maybe by global transformations, maybe in result of negotiations between leaders, we will manage to stop the war and build peace and happy future. People need this hope to stop the war.